My wife taped a list of marriage rules to the bathroom mirror and demanded I sign it, with her 3 friends watching and laughing. They expected me to fold. Instead, I pulled out divorce papers I prepared 3 weeks earlier. Their laughter stopped. Mine was just beginning. My name is Curtis Hammond. I'm 43 years old, and I'm a partner in a construction management consulting firm here in Charlotte, North Carolina. My wife Serena is 38, works in corporate marketing, and for the past year, she's been transforming into someone I barely recognize. We have 2 kids, Austin, 17, heading to college next fall, and Grace, 14, still figuring out who she wants to be. It started on a Tuesday morning in September. I walked in the bathroom, half asleep, reaching for my toothbrush. That's when I saw it. A sheet of paper, printed on expensive cream-colored cardstock, taped to the mirror with clear packing tape. Not a post-it note. Not a casual reminder. A formal document titled, Revised Household Guidelines, effective immediately. I blinked twice, thinking maybe I was still dreaming. But no, there it was. 12 numbered rules, single-spaced, formatted like a corporate policy memo. Rule 3 stated I needed to provide verbal affirmations of appreciation at least twice daily. Rule 7 demanded I acknowledge emotional labor contributions before making any requests. Rule 9, and this one really got me, required I maintain a shared digital calendar with color-coded entries for all activities, approved 48 hours in advance. I stood there in my boxers, toothpaste foam gathering at the corner of my mouth, staring at this thing like it might suddenly make sense. It didn't. While I walked into the kitchen, I understood this wasn't some weird joke. Serena sat at the breakfast bar with 3 of her closest friends. Claudia Reed, her yoga instructor friend, nursed a green smoothie. Jasmine Kumar, who works in HR at some tech company, scrolled through her phone with that knowing smirk people get when they're in on something you're not. Brielle Nash, the life coach who charges $200 an hour to tell people their feelings are valid, watched me with the intensity of a scientist observing a lab rat. Did you see the document? Serena asked without looking up from her granola bowl. Her tone was flat, administrative, like she was asking if I'd reviewed a quarterly report. I glanced at the 3 women, then back at my wife. Oh yeah, I thought it was a joke. Claudia's smirk widened. Jasmine raised her eyebrows. Brielle whispered something to Serena that made all of them giggle. That particular kind of laugh women share when they think they got you cornered. Serena finally looked at me. It's not a joke, Curtis. It's a framework for healthy boundaries. Either you sign it, or we need to seriously reconsider this entire arrangement. The word arrangement hit differently than marriage would have. More clinical, more disposable. I looked at the 4 of them, sitting there like a tribunal. Then I looked at the pen Serena slid across the granite countertop, a heavy silver fountain pen, the kind you use for important documents, the kind that makes signatures feel permanent. So let me get this straight, I said slowly. You want me to sign this thing right now? With an audience? We prefer to call it a support system, Brielle said, her voice dripping with that therapeutic condescension. Accountability is crucial for behavioral change. Something cold settled in my chest. Not anger yet, just a crystalline clarity about what I was looking at. This wasn't about boundaries or communication. This was a power play, and these 3 women weren't here as friends. They were here as enforcers. I picked up the pen. All 4 of them leaned forward slightly, expecting compliance. Instead, I set it back down. I need to think about this. There's nothing to think about, Serena said, her voice hardening. It's really simple, Curtis. Either you're willing to do the work, or you're not. And if you're not, then maybe we're done here. That's when I noticed Austin standing in the hallway, partially hidden by the doorframe. His eyes met mine for just a second before he disappeared back toward his room. My son had just watched his mother deliver an ultimatum surrounded by her Greek chorus of enablers. I nodded slowly. Okay, give me 20 minutes. 20 minutes for what? Jasmine asked, her tone suspicious. To think, I said simply. Then I walked out of the kitchen, leaving them to their victory celebration. But I wasn't going to think. I already knew exactly what I was going to do. I went straight to my home office and locked the door. My hands were steady, steadier than they'd been in months. That's what clarity does to you. It burns away the uncertainty and leaves only purpose. Behind a row of construction management textbooks nobody ever reads, I pulled out a manila envelope. I'd prepared it 3 weeks ago, The day after I found a receipt for a boutique hotel in Asheville, a place Serena supposedly never went to. On a weekend, she claimed to be at a women's wellness retreat. Inside the envelope, divorce papers, already filled out, separation agreement, asset division proposal, a list of financial discrepancies I'd documented over 6 months, and a USB drive containing 43 hours of security camera footage from our home. I'd installed those cameras 2 months ago, hidden in smoke detectors and picture frames. Not because I'm paranoid, but because I'm thorough. When your business partner of 12 years suddenly starts making mistakes that cost you contracts, and your wife suddenly needs girls' nights 3 times a week, you start connecting dots. The footage showed everything. Serena and Travis Hollister, my supposed friend and business competitor, in my living room, in my kitchen, in my bedroom. The timestamps didn't lie. Neither did the audio, where she called me financially useful but emotionally bankrupt, while Travis laughed. I grabbed the envelope and walked back to the kitchen. 22 minutes had passed. Serena and her support squad were still there, laughing about something. Probably me. They went quiet when I walked in. Okay, I said calmly, setting the envelope on the counter. I've thought about it. Serena smiled. Claudia looked smug. Jasmine actually had her phone ready, probably to document my surrender for social media. So you'll sign? Brielle asked, her voice dripping with therapeutic satisfaction. No, I said simply, but you can sign these instead. I slid the divorce papers across the counter. Serena's smile faltered. She picked up the first page, scanning it quickly. Her face went from confident to confused to pale in about 5 seconds. What is this? She asked, her voice suddenly small. Freedom, I told her. You wanted me to sign papers acknowledging I'm not good enough for you. Well, I'm giving you papers that say we're done. No more pretending. No more games. Claudia reached for the documents. You can't just. I can. I interrupted, my voice still calm. And I did. 3 weeks ago, actually. I've been waiting for the right moment. Thanks for providing it. Jasmine's phone was definitely recording now. Good. Let her. Serena flipped through the pages, her hands shaking slightly. Curtis, you don't mean this. I absolutely do. I looked at her 3 friends. You wanted accountability? Here it is. You wanted consequences for bad behavior? Here they are. Brielle stood up, trying to regain control. This is clearly an emotional reaction. You should take time to. I took 3 weeks, I said. That's plenty of time. Serena, your lawyer can review those. You've got 48 hours to respond, per the filing requirements. Same deadline you gave me. Funny enough. I turned and walked toward the hallway. Austin was there again, this time not hiding. He looked at me, then at his mother, then back at me. I gave him a small nod. Behind me, I heard Serena say something to her friends, her voice tight with panic. Then Claudia said, "This is just a power play. He'll back down." I kept walking. I wouldn't back down. Not anymore. For the first time in a year, I felt like I could breathe. Austin found me in my office 2 hours later. I've been sitting there, organizing documents, preparing for what came next. The divorce papers were filed. The cameras were still recording. And I had one more piece of evidence I hadn't shown anyone yet. Dad. His voice was quiet, careful. The way you talk to someone you're not sure how to comfort. I looked up from my laptop. Come in, son. He closed the door behind him and sat in the chair across from my desk. The same chair where we discussed his college applications 3 months ago, back when life felt normal. Mom's losing it downstairs, he said. Her friends finally left. She's been on the phone with someone for like an hour. Probably her lawyer, I said calmly. That's what people do when they get served divorce papers. Austin nodded slowly, then pulled out his phone. Dad, I need to show you something. I should have shown you months ago, but I didn't know how. He handed me his phone. On the screen was a text message thread between him and his mother. The most recent message, from 3 weeks ago, made my stomach drop. Serena had written, Austin, I need you to keep track of where your father goes after work. Just casual observations. It's important for family reasons. Don't tell him we talked about this. I scrolled up. More messages. Instructions on documenting my schedule, questions about my mood, requests to report conversations I'd had with Grace. My wife had recruited our 17-year-old son to spy on me. She asked me to do this since July. Austin said, his voice tight. I did it for a few weeks because I thought maybe you guys were having problems and she wanted to fix things. But then I saw texts between her and Uncle Travis. Uncle Travis. The man wasn't actually related to us. He'd been my friend for 15 years, became close with the family, earned that honorary title. The same man I caught on camera with my wife. Austin pulled up another screenshot. A text conversation between Serena and Travis Hollister. Travis, did Austin get a schedule yet? Serena, working on it. The kid's loyal to Curtis, though. Might need a different approach. Travis, once we tank his next 2 contracts, he'll be too busy scrambling to notice anything. Then you drop the rules document, and we're golden. I read it 3 times. They planned this. Not just the affair, but the systematic destruction of my business, using my own son as an intelligence source. I stopped giving her information in August, Austin said quickly. And I saved everything. Screenshots, voice memos of her asking me questions, emails. I thought maybe it was being paranoid, but then this morning happened, and I knew you needed to see this. I looked at my son, almost a man now, caught between his parents, making the hard choice to tell the truth, even when it hurt. You did the right thing, I told him. This isn't your fault. None of it. Are you really divorcing her? He asked. Yes. Good. His voice was firm, no hesitation. She doesn't deserve you. And I'll testify to that if I have to. In court. Wherever. I'll tell them everything. I felt something tighten in my chest. Pride mixed with sorrow that my kid had to grow up this fast, this hard. It might come to that, I admitted. If she fights for custody of Grace, if she tries to claim I'm an unfit parent, your testimony could matter. But Austin, that's a big decision. Once you testify against your mother. I know, he interrupted. But she made me a spy, Dad. She used me. And she's doing the same thing to Grace. Except Grace doesn't see it yet. That was the part that scared me most. Grace was 14, still believing her mother's version of events, still thinking I was somehow the problem. I've got your back, Austin said, standing up. Whatever you need, just tell me. After he left, I forwarded his screenshots to my lawyer, Samantha Pierce. She responded within 10 minutes. This changes everything. Parental alienation, involving minor and marital dispute. Judge will not like this. Call me. I called. We talked for 40 minutes. By the end, our legal strategy had shifted completely. Serena wanted a war. She was about to get one. But unlike her, I had the truth on my side. And now I had Austin's testimony too. Roland called me that evening. My brother, 2 years younger, worked as a senior analyst at First National Bank. He'd always been the numbers guy in the family, careful and methodical. When he said he needed to talk, it was never casual. Curtis, I broke protocol today, he said without preamble. I accessed Serena's account activity. If anyone finds out, I could lose my job. But you need to know this. My hand tightened on the phone. What did you find? She opened a new account 4 months ago. Personal checking, not joint. She's been moving money out of your shared accounts in small increments. Never more than $3,000 at a time, to avoid triggering alerts. Total so far, $91,000. I felt cold. $91,000. That's not the worst part, Roland continued. She opened the account with someone named Travis Hollister as a secondary, authorized user. They've both been making withdrawals. Restaurants, hotels, a jewelry store in Asheville, furniture deliveries to an address I don't recognize. What address? He gave it to me. I punched it into Google Maps. A condo complex 20 minutes away. High-end, gated community. They rented a place together, I said, more to myself than to Roland. Looks like it. Lease started 3 months ago. Rent's $4,200 a month, split between both accounts. I did the math. They'd been building a nest together, using money she'd been siphoning from our marriage. While I was working 60-hour weeks to keep the consulting firm profitable, she was furnishing a love nest with our money. There's one more thing, Roland said carefully. This morning, she tried to transfer $75,000 to an offshore account. I flagged it. Bank's holding the transaction for review. But Curtis, that's a lot of money moving very fast. She knows you filed for divorce. She's trying to hide assets. Can you document all of this? Already did. I've got bank statements, transaction logs, copies of the lease agreement she signed. It's all technically public record if you know where to look, but I expedited the process. My manager doesn't know I pulled this for you. If it comes out, it won't, I promised. I'll have my lawyer subpoena the records officially. Your name stays out of it. But Roland, thank you. This is exactly what I needed. After we hung up, I called Samantha again. She listened to everything, occasionally making notes. Dissipation of marital assets, she said when I finished. Hiding money during divorce proceedings. Opening joint accounts with her affair partner, using marital funds. Curtis, this is a slam dunk. We file an emergency motion tomorrow morning to freeze all accounts and prevent further transfers. She won't be able to touch a penny without court approval. Do it, I said. One more thing, Samantha added. The condo rental? We can demand reimbursement for every cent she spent. Courts don't look kindly on spouses who use joint money to fund their affairs. She'll have to pay you back, probably with interest. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about those transfers. 3,000 here, for 1,000 there. Small enough to avoid notice, large enough to add up fast. She'd been planning her exit for months, carefully looting our accounts while telling me we needed to work on communication. The next morning, Samantha filed a motion. By noon, the judge signed it. Every account Serena had access to, joint and personal, was frozen. She couldn't withdraw so much as $20 without court permission. I was at the office when she called, screaming, "You froze my accounts." Serena yelled, "I can't even buy groceries. This is financial abuse." "It's financial protection," I corrected calmly. "You stole $91,000 from our marriage and tried to move $75,000 offshore. The judge decided you're a flight risk. I didn't steal anything. That's my money too." It was your money too. Past tense. Now it's frozen until the divorce is final and we do a proper asset division. You want access to cash? Get a job. I hung up before she could respond. Samantha had warned me not to engage, but I'd needed to say that. Needed her to know I wasn't the pushover she thought I was. Travis Hollister called next. I let it go to voicemail. His message was short. "Curtis, we need to talk. This is getting out of hand. Call me." I deleted it. We had nothing to talk about. He betrayed 15 years of friendship for an affair with my wife. Whatever he wanted to say didn't matter anymore. That afternoon, I got an email from Greg Hartford, my business partner. Subject line, "We need to meet." I knew what that meant. The confrontation I'd been dreading was about to begin. The address Roland had given me led to Riverside Towers, a luxury condo complex with a fountain out front and a doorman who looked like he took his job seriously. I sat in my truck across the street for 20 minutes, watching people come and go, trying to decide if I really wanted to see this. Then I saw Travis Hollister's Mercedes pull into the underground garage. Decision made. I walked up to the lobby. The doorman stepped forward immediately. "Can I help you, sir?" "I'm here to see Unit 412, I said confidently. "Travis Hollister." "Is he expecting you?" the doorman asked, reaching for his phone. "It's a surprise," I said. Then I added, "Business matter. Construction consulting. We're partners." That last part was technically true, though not for much longer. The doorman hesitated, then nodded. "Elevators on your left. 4th floor. Unit 412. I knocked firmly, 3 times. Travis opened the door wearing sweatpants and a Duke University t-shirt. His expression went from casual to shocked in half a second. "Curtis, what are you? How did you? Can I come in?" I asked pleasantly. "Or would you prefer to have this conversation in the hallway where your neighbors can hear?" He stepped aside reluctantly. I walked into what looked like a furniture catalog spread. Modern sectional sofa. 60-inch television. Kitchen with stainless steel appliances. Artwork on the walls. Expensive stuff, not prints. French doors leading to a balcony with a view of the river. "Nice place," I said, looking around. "Must cost a fortune. What's rent on something like this?" "$4,000 a month." "5. "Curtis, listen," Travis started. $4,200, actually," I interrupted. "Split between you and my wife. Paid from accounts funded with marital assets. That's what my lawyer calls dissipation of marital property. Courts really don't like that." I walked to the bedroom door, pushed it open. King-size bed. Photos on a nightstand. Serena and Travis on a beach somewhere tropical. Her wearing a sundress I'd never seen. Him with his arm around her waist like they were newlyweds. "How long?" I asked, my voice still calm. "How long have you been sleeping with my wife?" Travis ran his hand through his hair. "Curtis, it just happened. We didn't plan." 18 months, I said, turning to face him. "That's what the bank records show. First payment on this place was 18 months ago. So don't tell me it just happened. You've been building a life with my wife for a year and a half while pretending to be my friend. His jaw tightened. You don't understand. Serena and I, we have something real. What you two had was already dead. Dead. I laughed. But there was no humor in it. You killed it, Travis. You and her. You sabotaged my business contracts. You used my son as a spy. You stole my money to furnish this place. And you're telling me my marriage was already dead. The business stuff wasn't my idea, Travis said quickly. That was all Serena. She thought if you were stressed about work, you wouldn't notice what was happening at home. So you just went along with it, I said. Destroyed contracts worth $300,000 because my wife asked nicely. I was trying to help her. His voice rose. She was miserable with you, Curtis. You worked all the time. You ignored her. She needed someone who actually cared. Cared enough to help her steal from me. I shot back. Cared enough to turn my business partner against me. Cared enough to wreck my family. That's not love, Travis. That's calculated destruction. I pulled out my phone and held it up. Smile for the camera. I snapped photos of the apartment, the bedroom, the photos on the nightstand. Travis standing there in his expensive rented living room, caught red-handed. What are you doing? He demanded. Documenting everything. For court. For my lawyer. For the judge who's going to decide whether Serena gets anything in the divorce. I pocketed my phone. Oh, and for Monica, your wife. Remember her? I'm meeting with her lawyer tomorrow. She's going to love seeing these pictures. Travis's face went pale. You can't. Monica doesn't know. She will by noon tomorrow. I promised. Just like Nicole Kensington found out about Jay. Just like everyone in your life is going to find out exactly who you are. I walked to the door, then stopped. One more thing. You and Serena wanted to ruin me quietly from the inside. You failed. Now I'm going to ruin you publicly, legally, and permanently. Starting with ending our business partnership. Greg Hartford can buy me out or buy you out, but one of us is leaving Hammond and Hollister Consulting. And it's not going to be me. I left him standing there, probably already calling Serena to tell her I'd found their love nest. Good. Let them panic. Let them scramble. I was done being the one caught off guard. Samantha called me 2 days later, her voice tight with controlled anger. Curtis, we have a problem. Serena's lawyer just submitted a psychological evaluation from Dr. Patricia Reynolds. It claims you're emotionally unstable, potentially dangerous, and unfit to have custody of the children. I sat down slowly. That's impossible. I've never even met Dr. Reynolds. Exactly, Samantha said. That's the problem. She evaluated you without ever speaking to you, based entirely on interviews with Serena and her friends. It's completely unethical, possibly illegal, and we're going to shred it in court. But Curtis, this is serious. They're building a narrative that you're a threat. Who is Dr. Reynolds? I asked. That's where it gets interesting. She's licensed, legitimate credentials. But guess who referred Serena to her? Jasmine Kumar. And guess who sits on the same nonprofit board as Dr. Reynolds? Also Jasmine Kumar. They're connected. I felt cold. So this was planned. Oh, it was absolutely planned. Look at the evaluation date. 3 weeks ago. Right before Serena gave you that list of rules. She was building documentation to use against you, preparing for a custody fight she knew was coming. Samantha paused. The evaluation claims you have narcissistic tendencies, controlling behaviors, and difficulty managing anger. It recommends supervised visitation only. This is insane, I said. Anyone who knows me would tell you that's completely false. Which is why we're going to demand a legitimate evaluation by a court-appointed psychologist. Someone with no connections to either party. And Curtis, we're filing a complaint with the state licensing board against Dr. Reynolds for conducting an evaluation without ever meeting the subject. That's a massive violation of professional ethics. What happens in the meantime? I asked. We file an emergency motion to exclude this bogus report from evidence. We submit counter-declarations from people who actually know you. Austin's testimony will be crucial here. And we expose the connection between Jasmine, Dr. Reynolds, and this coordinated attack on your character. The hearing happened 4 days later. Judge Patricia Anderson, a no-nonsense woman in her 60s, listened to both sides with increasing irritation. Serena's lawyer, a slick guy named Douglas Kent, argued that my violent tendencies made me unsafe around the children. He cited the fake evaluation 3 times. When it was our turn, Samantha stood up calmly. Your Honor, Mr. Hammond has never been evaluated by Dr. Reynolds. Not once. She based her entire assessment on hearsay from parties with a vested interest in discrediting him. Dr. Reynolds is professionally connected to Mrs. Hammond's friend, Jasmine Kumar, who has also promised 5% of any settlement Mrs. Hammond receives in this divorce. This evaluation is fraud. Judge Anderson's expression hardened. Mr. Kent, did your expert ever meet with Mr. Hammond? Kent shifted uncomfortably. The evaluation was based on collateral interviews, Your Honor. It's a recognized methodology. It's recognized malpractice. The judge interrupted. Dr. Reynolds issued a professional opinion about a person she never met, based on information from biased sources. This evaluation is excluded from evidence. Furthermore, I'm ordering a proper psychological evaluation of both parties by Dr. Richard Thornton, a court-appointed expert. Both Mr. and Mrs. Hammond will submit to full assessments within 30 days. She turned to Serena's lawyer. Mr. Kent, if you submit fabricated evidence to my court again, I'll hold you in contempt. Am I clear? Yes, Your Honor, Kent mumbled. One more thing, Judge Anderson added. I'm awarding temporary primary custody to Mr. Hammond pending the completion of proper evaluations. Mrs. Hammond gets supervised visitation twice weekly. This court takes parental manipulation very seriously. Serena gasped from her seat. Claudia and Brielle, sitting behind her, looked shocked. I kept my expression neutral, but inside, relief flooded through me. Grace and Austin would stay with me. They'd be safe. Outside the courtroom, Serena tried to approach me. Curtis, please. You're taking my children away from me. No, I said calmly. You did that yourself when you tried to frame me as dangerous using a fake psychiatric report. You chose this path, Serena. Now you gotta walk it. I left her standing there with her lawyer, probably already plotting their next move. But it didn't matter anymore. The judge had seen through their lies. And that was just the beginning. Pastor Daniel Reed called me on a Sunday morning, asking if I could meet him at Riverside Community Church before the service. I've been attending there for 12 years, served on a missions committee, helped build the new youth center. It was home. Curtis, I wanted to talk to you privately, he said when I arrived. We sat in his office, sunlight streaming through stained glass windows. I've heard about your situation with Serena. The whole congregation has. I figured, I said. Small church. News travels fast. Some members have approached me with concerns. Pastor Daniel continued carefully. They've seen Serena's social media posts claiming you've been abusive, controlling. But Curtis, I've known you for over a decade. I've watched you raise your kids, serve this community, live your faith. The man she's describing isn't the man I know. She's lying, I said simply, creating a narrative to justify what she did. I know. He pulled out a folder. 3 weeks ago, Serena requested a meeting with our church leadership. She wanted us to formally support her, to help her establish that you were an unfit parent. We declined, not because we're taking sides, but because her claims didn't match the evidence of your character. Thank you, I said quietly. There's more. Pastor Daniel opened the folder. Lydia Stevens came to me last week. She used to be close with Serena, correct? Years ago, they had a falling out. Lydia told me why. Serena tried to manipulate her into lying about an incident that never happened, claiming you'd been aggressive at a church event. When Lydia refused, Serena cut her off completely and spread rumors that destroyed Lydia's reputation in several social circles. I thought about Mel Porter, the friend who'd helped me. Serena had done the same thing to her. This was a pattern. Lydia is willing to testify about Serena's character in court if needed, Pastor Daniel said. So are 15 other church members who've witnessed her manipulative behavior over the years. Curtis, you have a community here that sees the truth. You're not alone in this. That Sunday, I sat in the third pew with Austin and Grace. The congregation welcomed us warmly. Handshakes, hugs, quiet words of support. Serena had stopped attending months ago, claiming the church was judgmental. Now I understood why. She'd burned too many bridges here. After the service, Lydia Stevens approached me. She was 41, worked as a teacher, had kind eyes that looked sad. Curtis, I'm sorry I didn't speak up sooner, she said. I watched Serena hurt you, and I stayed silent because I was afraid. But I'm ready to tell the truth now. Whatever you need. Thank you, I told her. That means more than you know. As I drove home with my kids, Austin said quietly, Dad, everyone at church was really nice to us today. They're good people, I said. Mom used to say they were fake, Grace added. That they only pretended to care. Your mother is wrong about a lot of things, I said gently. These people genuinely care. That's what real community looks like. Grace nodded slowly, starting to see the difference between her mother's version of reality and the truth. The court-ordered psychological evaluation took 3 weeks. Dr. Richard Thornton was thorough. 2 hours of interviews, personality assessments, review of medical history, even conversations with Austin and Grace separately. When he called to schedule a feedback session, his tone was professional but warm. "Mr. Hammond, I wanted to discuss my findings before submitting the report to the court," he said when I arrived at his office. "First, let me be clear. You show no signs of the issues Dr. Reynolds claimed in her fabricated evaluation. No narcissism, no anger management problems, no instability." Relief washed over me. "What did you find?" "A man dealing with extraordinary stress with remarkable composure," Dr. Thornton said. "Your responses were measured, thoughtful. You showed appropriate emotional range, sadness about your marriage ending, anger at being betrayed, but channeled productively through legal means rather than destructive behavior. Frankly, you're handling this better than most people would." "What about Serena?" I asked. His expression shifted. Mrs. Hammond's evaluation was concerning. "She exhibits significant narcissistic traits, manipulation tactics, and an alarming lack of empathy for how her actions have affected your children." When I asked about involving Austin as a spy, she justified it as teaching him to be observant. No remorse, no acknowledgement of wrongdoing. "Will that be in your report?" I asked. "Every word of it, along with my recommendation that primary custody remain with you." He leaned forward. "Curtis, I've been doing this for 23 years. I've seen hundreds of divorces. What your wife did, the systematic manipulation, the false allegations, using your children as weapons, that's textbook parental alienation. The judge needs to know." 2 days later, Samantha called with news. "Curtis, we're scheduled for final arguments next week. But there's something you should know. Serena's lawyer filed a motion claiming the security camera footage was obtained illegally and should be excluded from evidence." "The cameras were in my own house," I said. "How is that illegal?" "It's not, but they're grasping at straws." Judge Anderson already denied the motion, but it shows how desperate they are. She paused. "Curtis, I want to play some of that footage in court. Not all 43 hours, but key moments. The judge needs to see what we're dealing with." The hearing was scheduled for Friday morning. When the day came, the courtroom was packed. My lawyer, Serena's lawyer, both psychologists, and a handful of witnesses. Judge Anderson called the session to order. "Mr. Kent, your client has made serious allegations against Mr. Hammond. Let's see your evidence." Kent stood, presenting the fake psychological report that had already been excluded, some text messages taken out of context, and testimony from Claudia Reed about how I'd intimidated Serena. It was thin, unconvincing. Then it was our turn. Samantha stood calmly. "Your Honor, I'd like to present video evidence from Mr. Hammond's home security system." She played 3 clips. First, Serena and Travis in the living room, laughing about how clueless I was, discussing their plan to tank his business and take everything. Second, Serena coaching Austin on what to report about my activities, telling him, "Your father doesn't need to know we're talking." Third, Serena and her friends in my kitchen, celebrating after I'd left the room, with Betrayal saying, "Once he signs that document, we've got him trapped." The courtroom was silent. Judge Anderson's expression was stone cold. "Mrs. Hammond," the judge said slowly, "you orchestrated a campaign to destroy your husband's business, manipulate your children, and fabricate allegations of abuse. All documented on video. Do you have anything to say?" Serena stood, her voice shaking. "Your Honor, I was trying to protect myself." "From what?" Judge Anderson interrupted. "From a man who worked to support your family? From a father who loves his children?" "No, Mrs. Hammond. You weren't protecting yourself. You were destroying him for your own gain." The judge looked at both lawyers. "I've seen enough. Full custody to Mr. Hammond. Mrs. Hammond gets supervised visitation twice monthly. Final divorce decree to follow within 30 days. Serena collapsed in her chair, crying. Her friends tried to comfort her, but the damage was done. Outside, Austin hugged me tightly. "It's really over. It's really over," I confirmed. And for the first time in months, I believed it. The divorce was finalized on a cold November morning. I signed the papers at Samantha Pierce's office, and just like that, 18 years of marriage ended with notarized signatures and a court stamp. Samantha closed the file folder. "Curtis, you got everything we asked for. Full custody, 65% of marital assets, the house, your business partnership intact. Serena gets minimal visitation and has to repay $87,000 for the money she stole. This is a complete victory." "Doesn't feel like victory," I admitted. "Just feels like the end of something that should have been better." "That's healthy," she said. "It means you're processing honestly." She hesitated. "Can I ask you something personal?" "Sure. What are you going to do now? With your life? I mean, you've spent months fighting. Now you get to start building again." I thought about that question all afternoon. What did I want? For months, everything had been about survival, protecting my kids, defending my reputation, securing my future. But now that the war was over, what came next? That evening, Austin and Grace came to my office where I'd been sitting, staring at paperwork I wasn't really reading. "Dad, we were thinking," Austin started. "Maybe we could all take a trip somewhere. Just the three of us. Get away for a while." "Where would you want to go?" I asked. "Colorado," Grace said. "You always talked about wanting to go skiing there." I had mentioned that. "Years ago, before life got complicated. You guys really want to spend a week in the mountains with your old man?" "You're not that old," Austin said with a grin. "And yeah, we want to do something normal. As a family." We booked the trip for December. 2 weeks in Aspen, just us. It felt good to plan something forward-looking instead of reactive. Meanwhile, Samantha and I stayed in touch. Professional at first, questions about final paperwork, updates on Serena's compliance with a court order. But then our conversation shifted. She asked about Austin's college applications. I asked about her daughter's soccer season. We met for coffee to discuss a legal question, and somehow ended up talking for 3 hours about everything except law. "I should probably tell you," Samantha said during one of those coffee meetings, "I don't usually stay in touch with clients after cases end. Professional boundaries and all that." "But," I prompted, "but you're different. This case was different." She smiled. "And I'd like to keep seeing you, if that's something you'd be interested in. Not as lawyer and client, just as people." I thought about it for exactly 2 seconds. "I'd like that. A lot." Greg Hartford and I had a meeting about restructuring the firm now that Travis was out. We bought his shares at market value, which hurt, but was necessary to sever ties completely. "You know what's funny?" Greg said. "Losing Travis might be the best thing that happened to this business. He was always cutting corners, always looking for shortcuts. We're better without him." He was right. Our next 2 contracts came in clean, no sabotage, no interference. Just honest work and fair deals. Travis and Serena moved into a smaller apartment together. From what I heard through the grapevine, the reality of their relationship wasn't matching the fantasy they'd built. Turned out stealing someone's spouse didn't automatically create a perfect partnership. Monica Hollister, Travis's ex-wife, reached out to thank me for the evidence. She'd gotten full custody of their 2 kids and most of their assets. "Travis is paying for his choices," she said. Same as Serena should. As Christmas approached, I found myself feeling something I hadn't felt in over a year. Hope. Not just relief or survival, but actual optimism about the future. Austin got accepted to North Carolina State with a partial scholarship. Grace made honor roll for the first time. And Samantha agreed to join us for Christmas dinner. Just as a friend, officially, though Austin gave me a knowing look when I mentioned it. Life wasn't perfect, but it was mine again. And that was enough. 8 months after the divorce finalized, I stood in my backyard watching Austin load boxes into his truck. College move-in day. He was heading to NC State to study engineering, following in his old man's footsteps in his own way. "You got everything?" I asked for the 3rd time. "Dad, I'm good," Austin said with patience he'd learned from living through chaos. "Stop worrying." Grace sat on the porch steps, looking melancholic. "It's going to be weird without him here." "You'll survive," Austin told his sister. "And I'll be back for Thanksgiving." That's like 2 months away. After Austin drove off, Grace and I stood in the driveway, watching until his truck disappeared around the corner. "You okay, Dad?" she asked quietly. "Yeah," I said, meaning it. "I really am." Serena had faded into background noise. She showed up for her twice-monthly supervised visits, but the fire was gone. She'd lost her marketing job after the scandal became public, Turns out companies don't love employing people with documented histories of fraud and manipulation. She and Travis were still together, but according to Austin, who occasionally saw him around town, they fought constantly. The consulting firm was thriving. Greg and I had hired 2 new junior consultants and landed 3 major contracts. Revenue was up 40% from last year. Turned out, removing a saboteur from your business improved profitability. Who knew? Samantha and I had been dating officially for 5 months. We took it slow. Dinner dates, weekend hikes, long conversations about everything from politics to bad movies. She understood what I'd been through because she'd guided me through it. And she never pushed, never demanded, never tried to control. I like her, Grace had told me one evening. She's not trying to replace Mom. She's just nice. Normal nice, not fake nice. Coming from Grace, who'd finally seen through Serena's manipulations, that meant everything. On a Saturday in late July, I took Grace and Samantha to the grand opening of the new community center our firm had helped build. It was a project we'd started before the divorce, one that Travis had tried to sabotage. Seeing it completed, full of families and kids, felt like reclaiming something that had almost been taken from me. "You built this," Samantha said, watching children play basketball in the new gym. "Even when everything in your personal life was falling apart, you kept building things that mattered." "How to keep moving forward," I said. Stopping meant giving up. That night, after dropping Grace at a friend's house, Samantha and I sat on my back porch watching the sunset. "Can I tell you something?" she asked. "Always. When I first took your case, I thought you were just another divorce client. Good guy, bad situation, standard story." She turned to face me. "But you weren't standard. You were strategic, controlled, focused. You protected your kids, preserved your dignity, and never once tried to destroy Serena, even though you could have. You just wanted fair. What's your point?" I asked gently. "My point is I admire you. Not just as a lawyer watching a client handle a crisis, but as a person who sees how rare it is to find someone who stays principled when the world gives you every excuse not to." She smiled. "I'm really glad I met you, Curtis Hammond." "I'm glad I met you too," I said, even if it took my world falling apart to make it happen. We sat in comfortable silence as the sun disappeared below the horizon. Austin was starting college. Grace was healing. My business was growing. And I had someone next to me who understood all of it without needing explanations. Serena had given me that list of rules thinking she could control me into submission. Instead, she'd given me the push I needed to reclaim my life. Sometimes the worst thing that happens to you turns out to be the beginning of something better. I didn't thank her for it, but I stopped being angry about it. And that, more than anything, meant I'd truly moved on.